Hi Libra. This is your November reading, Scorpio season. Right after your birthday. It's so crazy. Every time after Libra season the past few years, more so than I consciously remember, it's a whirlwind. We go from Virgo season, which is a mutable earth sign, so it's not really calm in itself, and then you get into Libra season, which is like a whirlwind. Just so much going on, and then it's like hitting a wall. And I think I've said this before, probably going into Scorpio season. Also, the eclipse is being into Venusian signs. That's why I realize now, looking back, so if you have any Taurus or Taurus people in your life, you can take a look at that reading. I went through it like twice fully, and then I was like, this isn't it. There's something I'm not still understanding that needs to be conveyed. So I redid it, and it made more sense to me then. So for you guys, for us, really, it's like you're at that point where you want to look cute, but you don't want to work too hard, where it's so funny. We're going to keep it really real in this reading. Because there's a lot in motion, and Venus today, as I'm doing your reading, Venus moves into Libra. So the eclipses, Venus has already been in kind of interesting signs. So I feel like I couldn't, regardless, I just couldn't have done this until now. This was on the bottom of the deck when I started. Yesterday, it was on the bottom next to the other deck that I use. And I consciously picked the other bottom. It was like, this is the Libra energy right now, and this is the first card that falls out. It's not your energy, and I don't want to say, I need to backtrack because I didn't say that this is our energy right now. It is, but it's not. It's what we need. It's what we need. So if there's anyone in your life that is also echoing this for you, it's time to listen. It's this movement, in a place where you know that this is what you want. And you might be coming up to your match. You know that things can get fiery, or things can be intense, passionate, but also could be intensely avoidant or anxious, right? So right now, you are finding yourself possibly in a place where you are not fully, I don't want to say that you're not fully committed. If you're in something already and it's established and you don't feel extremely fully committed, it's such a Libra thing. It's not that there's a few signs where no matter what, you're going to have to keep committing to realizing that relationships are a choice. Especially the Venusian signs and specific placements that make it easier for you to be with. You think you're a specific person, but then you realize you could be with a multitude of different people. It's also partial to do with you finding yourself. But a lot of signs, especially Libra being a relational sign, you learn through relationships for the most part. You're learning a lot about what you don't want, a lot about what's needing to change. The eclipse in Taurus probably showed you where it is in your life that you can't always have an eye on. Where if you want to be in a certain position in your life, or if you have a certain goal that you're headed towards, you need to be able to understand that you may not experience these certain decisions right now, but on a small scale, you're still learning that art of what you can actually control. That when you convey yourself with an open heart to whoever it is that you're speaking to, or however it is that you are needing to express yourself, regardless, how they take it is important, of course. But regardless, I really want you to see, and talking to myself right now as well, that whatever happens, whatever changes afterwards, aside from this relationship, this could also be that part of yourself that's been overbearing, because that's what's kept it together for so long. Especially if it's a certain part of you that has been a part of your identity. And this tower moment has to do with you coming to the realization that you can't control most of these things that you are having a power dynamic with. It's like you're creating the power dynamic because you don't want to focus on what you really need to focus on, and that's yourself. I know. Hearing it at certain times, but hearing it now when you need to hear it, whenever you need to hear something, I feel like it's always like this, like, I know what it is, I'm going to find it, but then it's when you get to it, you realize, like, you can't rush how this feels to hear what I'm hearing or what you're hearing. But here you feel more capable, more powerful, more able to have control, right? We talk about this dance because being a cardinal sign, now we're in a fixed season, fixed water season at that. Your focus on where you need to invest your time and energy being your thoughts and your emotions. So whatever's coming up first really needs to be dealt with. It's not gonna be like an overnight thing. Like you have this realization and then you move on, which sometimes life can be like, right? But now it's more of like, this is a realization you actually have to make yourself aware of out in the open. It has to maybe be told to another person, perhaps, if they're involved, and it needs action. It needs a plan of some sort. You need a plan for yourself, regardless of, again, how the situation goes. You're being led to becoming the most confident self, regardless of where you're at, regardless of what you're putting your worth into. But of course, the fact that you're coming to this, you're putting it into something very specific, something for yourself. It's very apparent that time and time again, you need to hear this message many times before you get to the source of your particular relationship with the divine and your own divinity, and to hear how worthy you are. You know, sometimes that needs to come from someone specific in your life. For some reason, it just hits different in that moment, right? So to see how worthy you are, how capable you are, how much energy this gives you is just like the first step of what this is giving you. This is giving you permission to be that full worthy self that you have been all along, that you are most of the time. It just so happens that there's been this period where you almost can't confront your own parts where you dominate over, whether it's yourself and how you maybe control how you act around people. You might need to for your own safety and protection, but I think what you're realizing is that whoever you're with and whoever is on the other side of this, if you look at the Queen of Wands, just looking at the King of Wands, the King is fully faced. Granted, his chair is also fully faced, and she's looking over while she's facing forward. She is trusting him in that moment. And he is giving his full attention to her. This doesn't have to be also a female-male thing. This is just the best way to identify the cards. It's this head-to-head with the stubbornness. But also with that stubbornness is that immense power and that feeling of power that you have maybe with this specific person in your life. That you see so much maybe of yourself in them and vice versa, that it can almost feel not threatening, but scary to an extent, or just very vulnerable when the norm is just so easily head to head. And this realization with yourself and what you really need to see, that falls off, but it's almost shedding away the layer that you've been hiding. We're getting very poetic this month too. This layer that you've been hiding. So it's so weird because there's certain signs that like, it's like those movies with those girls who are beautiful, but they're so scared to like reveal it. And once they wear like fit clothes that fit them for some reason, even though like it's really sexy to wear baggy clothes too. But it's more of just how they carry themselves, and that kind of sheds any layer no matter what they wear, how they present themselves, because then they go through that big moment, but then they go through that moment of coming back to themselves and dressing how they normally dress. You could tell I've seen some of these movies, how Libra of me, but it's this transformation and this I was thinking about the exoskeleton. I was thinking about the shell that some creatures have. Lately, turtles more so. But it covers a soft underbelly. But even these parts of ourselves, metaphorically, these creatures go through shedding periods where they have to level up. They have to get a new shell. So it's very Cancerian too. This part of you that can't be withheld anymore is just taking form. And this is part of how you do that, how you own yourself moving forward, and how you will become and maybe need to commit to becoming so aware of your own divinity, of your own uniqueness, that remembering again, time and time again, coming back to you don't need anyone's permission to be that person. That you can move into this season and through this season in a way where you can have your head held high no matter what happens, because there's so much power coming back to you now that you've subtracted the amount of energy that you've given to this part of you. Again, when we're talking about your time, your resource, like your time is your resources, and your energy is what you think and feel and where you're directing that energy to. And that's what life then begins to create. And because you may have found yourself in a place where you just didn't know, you may have been feeling that because so much is changing, and it's like you're holding on to certain things that just have felt normal in times of change or chaos, but it doesn't have to be that anymore. It looks like you're in a very healthy place with yourself, and maybe now you're really creating that structure, that aesthetic, that life that you really want, and you're able to engage with it differently. Maybe you've been thinking about engaging with your life differently, taking a class, learning something new, committing to something, or going to something, or maybe just going and doing your favorite art somewhere, or dedicating time to that actually is what you need to continue to carry on this confidence, is to express yourself regardless if you know exactly what it is that you're feeling. To learn to find words or colors or movement or whatever it is that you need to allow that to take form, so it's not festering inside of you. This month, if you let things fester, it will be harder. But if you find when you get into those places, you're able to then slowly crawl, walk, or jump yourself out to and into something outside of yourself-ish, but it's still you doing it for you. This month will have a lot of epiphanies, perhaps, and moments where you continuously then choose to put your thought process. It's like recreating a new habit. You've been here before, but this one is deep and it looks very powerful, and this spread is very positive. However, road signs in the dark, and also like, yes, we see who you are and we see the beauty and we see all of this, but it's time to put that value, the value you have into all that. And it's the most superficial Libra thing, but into yourself, into your emotions, and to continuously do that, because every Libra season, for some reason, you get set back a little bit. You get shown like, once we enter Scorpio season, are you still going to do that for yourself? Are you still going to think about yourself? You're going to put thought into yourself. What is it that you're creating now, and knowing that it's something special? People really love it, but you have found this independence that you've needed to see, and you've come face to face with someone in your life, and then also with your own devotion, your own divinity, whatever the universe, God, whatever that is to you. That source becomes the, you know this, but to experience that intimacy on that level with yourself and with the life that you have co-created around you, with who you are as this person, and now what you get to choose to open up to and let go of. This Tower moment brings the Ace of Wands very quickly. It's not too much to think about in that process, but to be thoughtful upon moving forward, because you have, this can't happen without the proper foundation. So give yourself credit for that foundation, and now it's time to really build and expand upon it in this time, even if it's just through thoughtful process, thoughtful movement in your day-to-day life. Doesn't have to be, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. It could just be like how you're moving about your life, how you're transitioning through your day. It's a little bit more slowed down, thoughtful, but dynamic, instead of like, time to do this, time to do that, time to do this, time to that, you know, like how last season. Okay, we'll get even more into the second part. All links below. That link will be in the first link that you see. Give it a day, 12 hours to a day, 24 hours for that reading to come out. And we will see you next month, Libra.